happening Uri and Mourne in the world. This is from the land and the waterways of Ireland. Tom Johnston of the Inland Waterways Association of Ireland.
Yes, sir. That's
You're
me.
most welcome.
Thank you very much, Rowan.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
God bless you. You're good to have you here. It's been a good week for the Inland Waterways folk in this area because nature has walked with you, and sometimes difficult officialdom has walked with you.
Yes.
Bring us up to date, sir.
Momentous week, to say the least. Divine intervention.
There you are.
Probably gets.
Are we talking about Geraldine here?
Well,
Possibly.
When I talk about Geraldine, I'm not sure if it's in the positive or not, because she gets me into all these fixes.
Things to do.
Things to do.
Yeah.
And it usually involves work, and I don't like work. I hate work.
Well, sure, you don't have to think about work now that you're retired.
Well, I would like to think that, but
Yeah.
I've all these experiences which are second to none.
But you guys are making a
incredible.
difference.
Yeah.
You're making a difference in a waterway that John Donnelly and I saved
Yeah.
40 years ago
Yeah.
when the
Yeah.
council wanted to close it in,
Yeah.
the main ship
Yeah.
canal, and turn it
Yeah.
into industrial.
Yeah.
So you guys are the inheritor of a great tradition.
Yeah.
This
Well,
week has been good. Why?
This week has been good because of the floods, believe it or not. The floods
you
have
are.
done us a good turn.
Tell me about that.
We've spent the best part of a year trying to open up the lower gates at Loch 2. Now,
Yeah.
when we talk about lower gates, I'm not always sure which we're talking about. And it's only
I would guess the seaward
the
side.
seaward side.
Am I right?
Yeah. Well,
Don't ask me to tell you why I guessed that.
yeah, well, I guess that as well. I never knew that until recently that gates are different sizes at the different ends of the canal or the loch.
Yeah.
And I thought they were the same. You know,
Yeah.
my knowledge of canals is next to nothing. I wasn't born with a lock gate in my mouth, so I know nothing about these things. And it was only in recent weeks that Peter happened to say the gates are different sizes.
Yes.
Which was news to me. But anyway, we've spent most of the year trying to get the lower gates, or the tail gates, or whatever you want to call them, on the Newry side open.
Yeah.
They haven't been opened in 20 years since
My
they were put
goodness.
in.
Yeah.
And we've struggled because we're not allowed to put machinery in. It's also quite deep, so even though you're wearing waders up to here,
Yeah.
whenever you bend over, you just fill up with water and
It is
float off
surely.
somewhere.
Yeah, of course.
So
yeah.
we've been experimenting with compressed air, sucking it out, blowing it out, whatever we could do to get rid of all the silt to get these gates open. And about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we got the gate on the towpath side,
Yeah.
more or less opened, or is
Yes.
it closed?
Now we're talking
Which way does it go? Is it
Hold
open
on,
or
the
closed?
the towpath side. So the towpath runs alongside it.
Yes.
We're talking the Loch Ness side.
We're talking about the gate closest to the towpath.
To the and is she turned to the gate?
We're trying to get that opened.
Ah,
or
yeah.
Or
okay.
is it closed?
Okay. I think.
You tell,
But
you
anyway,
know more
the
about
flush.
these than I do.
Anyway, you pull the chain of
Anyway,
nature.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we got this gate sort of going towards the middle of the loch. Put it like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
We were nearly there, and we were all pleased with ourselves.
Yeah.
This is the first time this gate had been opened so far. But then we had the one on the other side to do as well. Then the floods came. And the floods came, and they came, and they came, and it was unbelievable.
And at that stage, I suggest that you fellows and girls of the Inland Waterways Association, Newry and Portadown branch, had the lock gates and the canal in bed with you in the middle of the night, because you would have been biting your nails and saying to yourselves, "Oh, I wonder what's happening."
Well, actually, it was the other way around. We weren't even aware of this. We knew that it was going to be wet.
Yes.
But we've had the weather forecasts have been so atrociously wrong. We didn't really know what to expect. So anyway, we had a work party organised for Saturday, and they went down and they couldn't get near the place for water, and then they saw the water going out over the top of these gates. The whole half of the loch was flooded, and the water was gushing out through these gates, and then they noticed that both gates were closed.
Wow.
So somebody, divine intervention or whatever you want to call it, had forced the gate on the other side closed as well.
Yeah. Nature.
Nature.
Indirectly, divine
Unbelievable.
intervention.
Yes.
Indirectly.
Yeah. Then the next thing that Peter noticed was we expected, because the gates were closed, the back of it would be full of silt and dirt and muck and everything else.
Yes, yeah.
And apparently it's not. So there's a couple of divers apparently coming tomorrow to dive in there and remove the big stones that the floods wouldn't move.
Yes, yeah.
And then those two gates should work. You just stick your back to the road and you'll be able to do it yourself.
Yes, you'll be there. I remember, I'll share this with you because it fascinated me at the time. I take you down through Newry, I take you through the Ship Canal, I take you through the estuary into Carlingford Lough, I take you out to the lighthouse and the bar, as we call it. A treacherous place when you have wind against tide, you know, dreadful. Now, about 20 years ago, 20 odd years ago, the Ham dredging company came in from Holland, Amsterdam. And the Ham dredging company came in at the behest of Warren Point Port to dredge the whole channel from there up. Now, and they had the hopper dredger and the digger dredger. So the digger loaded the spoil into the hopper. The hopper went 10 miles out into the Irish Sea, ditched it and came back in again. So all of that was going on. No bother doing the dredging all the way to the lighthouse. Then, and it reminds me about the big stones you're talking about, then, for goodness sake, they discovered that at the bar, and this is, to some extent is the explanation for the turbulence at the bar, huge boulders that could not be moved, that had been there from the Ice Age, were there, and they had to get them out. So they brought in another device, which was like a huge fishing net. And this huge fishing net dredged into these huge boulders and lifted them. They were iron. They were steel nets, and lifted them out onto the dredger. And I tell you, I remember it today. These boulders were the size from the floor of this studio to the roof, and it was like a mini comet been taken up. But you see the same thing. These things lodge, and in the lock chamber there was a lodgement of your small but rocks there. But you're going to get those out. Wasn't that a great story?
It was incredible, yeah.
I tell a good story, don't I?
Oh, certainly.
The lovely thing I
They'll
didn't
pay
tell
much
you.
for it.
I didn't tell you about this, but this is a nice. I always remember this. On the digger dredger, there was the living accommodation for the crew, and you went down the steps and into the lounge, and you went through the doors, and it was like, not that I've ever been in an Amsterdam bar or club. That's what it was like. And they had Amsterdam beer that you never tasted the like of in your life. And there we were, just relaxed. I was there I used to have a program called The Fathom Line on Radio Ulster. I was there making a thing for The Fathom Line. Sure, I was treated like royalty. It was great fun altogether.
Brilliant.
Now, we're at lock number 2.
Yep.
I wonder what you'll say to this. Peter keeps talking to me about it. I have this dream of having a small rowing boat able to go from Sansa's Mill out to beyond whatever, lock number 2. Distance of what? Several hundred? Would it be a mile?
Well, again, I haven't actually paced the thing.
No, but roughly.
So what I hear is it should be over a mile from Sansa's Mill up to Lough 3.
Lough 3. And then we can take little rowing boats. We can have little Newry regattas again. We can have punts with poling our way along. Beautiful women in floral white dresses.
Beautiful women's okay,
I'm happy
enough for that, certainly.
Sorry, you be quiet. There's a woman out there who owns you. He's only joking. He doesn't mean it at all.
She'll slap my wrist when I go
She
home.
will. She will. But picnic in the summertime, it'll be good.
Beautiful.
It'll be great.
I don't know, did you see the photographs of Scarva not so long ago? Because we had canoes going along Scarva.
Yes.
There was a photograph of what it looked like before that, and all you see is green.
Just green.
There's nothing. You don't see any water. You don't even know a canal exists there. So whenever we dammed that up, both sides, there's the second photograph then shows a dozen craft in the same place, canoes, kayaks, coracles, whatever you want to call them, all in a line going down this channel. It looked. Whenever you see the before and the after, absolutely,
Yeah, absolutely.
absolutely incredible.
What did you do in life seriously when you had to work for a living? What did you do?
Probably as little as possible.
No, but you were in you some adventurous thing. You climbed poles and you ran electricity and stuff, did you?
I worked for worked for BT. Well, I was employed
BT.
by
BT.
I've been employed. Told I was employed by BT.
He was employed by BT. Did you ever,
We don't use
in your wildest imagination, believe while you were doing all the things with BT that you would one day be digging rubbish out of canals
No, I
and
didn't.
stones and
No,
all the rest of it?
never thought I'd be sitting here.
Talking to the world.
Yeah.
You're very big, by the way, in Manhattan and San Diego.
Yeah.
They're all writing in and saying, and they're saying,
didn't
tell that, take that fellow Tom back again and all of that. So what's the program for the week ahead?
Well, the other big news this week was the Environment Agency have agreed to us putting gates on at Points Pass and well, the one at Scarva as well.
That's great.
So we'll have gates facing each other and a big long length of canal there, which we can put 3 foot of water into.
That's great.
The big problem with that was, you see, we had that minister who came to see us in the summertime.
She with the hair.
She with the hair. She was interested.
I don't mean any harm by that, but I just can't remember her name. I should know all the names of all the ministers.
Was it
shouldn't
Carol McQuillan?
There you are.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. And she wanted us to get involved with her understudies to help us out with a business plan and all that stuff.
Good girl. Good girl.
And there was big money involved. But we decided to go our own way because we can get it done, we think, rather than sit around waiting to be told yay or nay in a year or 2 years' time.
Oh, yeah.
So we now have, Peter has the plans for the existing gates at Lock 2, and we're allowed to make gates something similar out of metal. And then, of course, you have to satisfy certain conditions, like will the bands that hold the gate in place be strong enough? But Peter has shown that when you measure out the wood and you measure out the metal is something like 65% lighter than wood and combination. So he hopes to be able to fulfill all these questions. And
well, he would know about things like that. He built a steel boat that took him across the oceans of the world for all of 15 years of traveling, you know. So he's a very, very clever man with his hands.
I think our branch is very lucky to have somebody like him.
Absolutely. Where would you, you know?
Well, as you said, asked the question, where would you be without him?
Where would you be? No, he's a driving force there.
Yes.
And you know, even what you're saying, that lock gates here, canal, water in the middle.
Water in the middle, yep.
That's great.
It is.
That's what we've dreamt about.
Yep.
We've dreamt about that for years. Now you guys are doing it.
And that's all happening within this last year.
Yeah.
The movement of this branch is going forward this year.
Forward all the
has
time.
been unbelievable.
Do they appreciate you down in that place in Dublin where your headquarters
Oh yes,
exist?
I think they do.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. It takes a wee bit of time with them as well. Sometimes they're nearly as bad as councils to get things done. But we have to thank them because they paid for that big pump that we have. They're paying for a lot of the costs for the sluice keeper's cottage. They're helping us out with that. And we're moving with them as well.
That's good. Thank goodness for that. It's all good and it's all healthy. And you know, my grandchildren who are now that size and babes in arms, my great grandchildren, they'll live to enjoy it in their own time and in their own way. You know.
Well, it's all progression, isn't it? You started it all off.
Well,
somebody else takes it over. Somebody else will take over from us.
That'll happen. That'll happen. I remember so well the first kind of towpath walk. Machetes, shovels, axes, beating our way through from Newry. Pat Jennings was with us, beating our way through as best we could. And we arrived in Scarva, and we had tea and stew in Scarva in the pub beside the bridge. It was great.
Lovely.
It was great.
Listen, of course, our success brings us problems as well. You know, the towpath has become so successful. We had a meeting with the councils yesterday, the Joint Development Council, and they have counters on at various places along the towpath, and there's more than 200,000 people that use the towpath every year, and they keep these counters deliberately somewhere where, you know, out of the way, so that people don't keep constantly going past them. And even with these things sort of in the middle of an area, there's still 200,000 people going back and forward through that. But you see, that brings other problems because you now have all these cyclists who are sometimes using it as a trials area, and that causes problems. Then, you have people with dogs and big long leads. They cause a problem. And then people have these earphones.
And they don't see what's
going on. And they don't hear. And then they complain about bikes having no bells, which they don't have. So
which they wouldn't hear anyway.
There's all these things, and this was one of the issues at the meeting yesterday.
But you listen.
There's no answer to it, unfortunately.
It's the human condition.
Oh, yes.
And isn't it good that we have these things to worry about? The people of Venice, where would we be if we were like the people of Venice? And this brings it to my mind. The people of Venice are now exercised to some great extent about suitcases that have 4 little wheels on them. And they passed legislation in Venice, because Venice was always a quiet city, quietude, and no motor cars, of course. And everything was peaceful and quiet until the tourists come in with these click, and they passed legislation to stop it all. So we have little enough to be worried about. Listen, Tom Johnston, thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.
You go well.
My pleasure.
Well, Tom, and good luck in all your achieving.
It's going well, yep.
Thank God.